This is why the narcissist will inevitably hoover you. Everything we do in life, every choice, every action, every thought that eventually leads to action, is driven by one of two goals: avoiding pain or seeking pleasure. There's really no other fundamental motivator, and if you think otherwise, you might be fooling yourself. So it's important to acknowledge that people are inherently self-interested. Everyone lives their life in a way that suits them. However, for those who possess empathy, who genuinely care about others, at least those close to them, there is pleasure derived from their well-being. But when you encounter someone toxic, whether they're narcissistic or psychopathic, they operate under the same principles: avoiding pain and seeking pleasure. Yet, they lack the extended empathy and care that would make them derive pleasure from seeing others thrive. It just doesn't work that way for them. In fact, it's often the opposite. Initially, you might not notice this with toxic individuals. At the start, they may love bomb you, idealize you, and make you feel special because they derive pleasure from your happiness, knowing it hooks you deeper. Over time, this dynamic shifts. Once they gain control over you, they see you more as a means to supply their needs. They'd find your happiness unsettling because it reminds them of what they lack or can't achieve themselves. It bothers them. On the other hand, they may derive satisfaction when you're upset because it validates their power over you, often due to their own manipulative actions. When dealing with manipulative individuals who control you, you end up in a supporting role, boosting their ego, ensuring their well-being, and aiding their goals. Your focus shifts to meeting their needs. They position themselves at your life's center, and you accept this role. People often realize this belatedly, understanding the inverse link between your well-being and theirs. The better they feel, the worse off you are. They consistently prioritize their needs over yours. Eventually, most recognize the situation and detach from these individuals. It may be a personal choice or circumstances force separation, often initiated by the toxic person. From their perspective, they discard when you no longer serve their needs for pleasure or pain avoidance. They've likely found others to fulfill those roles. Even after moving on, they feel entitled to you. They believe their past investments should still serve their needs. Some call this hoovering. If they suddenly think of you again and see that you've moved on and are doing better without them, it hurts their ego deeply. It's like losing a prized possession. Losing that control over you causes them pain because it means someone took away what they saw as theirs, their trophy or whatever they considered you. You might have felt discarded like an old relic, tossed into a box in the garage, forgotten and unvalued. That's how they make you feel, right? But they tend to put people back on a pedestal when their own circumstances change and they need something from you again. However, narcissists and toxic individuals don't always return to their former sources of supply for various reasons. Perhaps you inflicted a significant blow to their ego. Maybe your own life is going well, and they aren't drawn to bringing you back into their fold. Or maybe they've found adequate supply elsewhere to meet their needs. When things aren't going their way, that's when they often try to make a comeback. And when your life starts picking up and you're feeling good, that's when you suddenly find yourself needing to set boundaries. Because when they're hurting from not having you back, feeling like they might have lost you for good, and seeing you thrive while they struggle, they try to ease that pain by reaching out to you, by pulling you back into their life, by trying to use you again to fulfill their needs. It all boils down to those two things: avoiding pain and seeking pleasure. Dealing with a toxic person is unlike dealing with most others. Instead of feeling good when others are doing well, they often feel better when others are struggling. It's almost the opposite of how most people feel. Your well-being threatens them, and your pain somehow boosts their self-esteem. They want to feel good about themselves, not injured. So, they'll attempt to use you to lift themselves up. Thanks for tuning in.